Well. The very first NBA's in-season tournament final is set. At the time you're listening and watching this, you know who it is. I actually don't at this time of me recording this intro, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. What I do know is the Pacers won and they're going to be meeting somebody, but we're going to recap all of the action from Thursday, fantasy news, waiver wire trends, and a discussion on the final of the NBA's in-season tournament. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I would hate being wrong, but I'm not familiar with the sensation. And I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode, who is it brought to you by? It's brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. We are here. Remember, trying to get to Operation 70K. Hit subscribe if you are on YouTube. Let's hit that. We've got under 500 to go. Almost there. And then we'll have a party and set the next goal. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. Leave comments, push it out to more people, share it. But hit subscribe if you haven't done it, and the notification bell. We are here to talk about the action from Thursday in the NBA, the NBA's in-season tournament semifinals out in Las Vegas. What did you think of the Vegas atmosphere? I liked how the courts were bigger. The area around the courts was bigger. We had the crowd sort of blacked out. It looked like they were playing like in the bubble, the way they did those courts. The crowd was blacked out. The space around the courts was bigger. Obviously, it's not as good as having a home court advantage, but those little small aesthetic things and even playability things with the court extension, I think is really good. But we'll talk more about the games and that later on. We've got stuff to look at here in terms of news that has dropped and a few injury updates have come through, which we did talk about earlier on in the Friday streaming show. Remember, Friday, tomorrow, is the final day of Week 7. There are no games on Saturday. Yes, there is an NBA in-season tournament final. It doesn't count for fantasy. It does not count. I'll say it one more time. It does not count for fantasy. So the fantasy week is over on Friday. There are no games on Sunday. And if you want to get ahead on streaming, there's 13 games on Monday, so you can't. The next day you can stream is Tuesday. And I think making a lot of advanced moves for Tuesday at this point, when a lot of injury stuff can happen tomorrow, which could just change your plans completely. So I was thinking maybe I'd put out like the Week 8 preview tomorrow before the games. But I don't think I will, because I want to see what changes, because with basically every team playing on Friday, outside of four, I think there is more to gain by waiting for those games to be done and then dropping the Week 8 preview after that, because again, we're not going to stream on Monday anyway, so we've got to have a little bit more time to get that information in to make sense of Week 8's schedule. That's where we are. Let's look at the news. Lauri Markkanen is out again for the Jazz. Jordan Clarkson and Kelly Olynyk are both questionable. So we still have a bunch of uncertainty. I do think they're going to make some sort of a change. If Olynyk is out, I wouldn't be shocked if Yurtseven still starts. But I think if Olynyk plays, we might get Yurtseven out of the rotation. I'm very intrigued to see what they do with Taylor Hendricks. I added him. I talked to King about this today. I added Taylor Hendricks in Locked On Fantasy Basketball categories and points, because I've got deeper leagues and I can stash. I think they desperately want to get him at least getting some rotation minutes. And I think John Collins is no impediment. Seriously, he's not that good, and he's not a future part. And if Hendricks improves, I think by the time we hit February, it's a long ass stash. You can't do it in standard leagues. But I just think something's cracking with that team. That's something to watch. Fontecchio might have been a stream, but man, there's 13 games, so you're not really going to do much there. Hero and Bam are out again for the Heat. I don't know whether this extends into next week, but I do know that even though there's 13 games on Orlando Robinson's an add, a hold, a stream, and you use him as long as Bam is out. He's a top 100 player when Bam is out. We've got news on the passport legend Jalen Duren. His ankle, the ankle sprain, is reevaluated in 2 weeks. Shams initially said 2 weeks, which is sort of true. The Pistons came out later and said, reevaluate it in 2 weeks. So minimum 2 weeks, probably pushing to 3, which is not a surprise. Now they have got a million different directions they can go. I do believe that they will start Isaiah Stewart at center. They'll push Bojan to the 4, and they will start Jaden Ivey along with Hayes and Cunningham. But I couldn't have less confidence in anything if I tried. Like, I just couldn't. They could do numerous other things. They could start Jim Wiseman, which, of course, you know what? I'd be pretty calm about that if they started James Wiseman. I'd be really rational, really relaxed about it. They could start Marvin Bagley. Okay, fine. Bagley's actually been one of the better players this season. As bad as he is, he's been pretty good. They could, instead of starting Jaden Ivey, they could start Asar Thompson, who rebounds and defends like he's a big man anyway, like a power forward. Putting him next to a alleged floor spacer in Stewart and a definite floor spacer in Bogdanovic works. And then I would have Ivy over Hayes. That's the lineup I would do. But I don't know if they're going to do that. Could they do something ridiculous and put Kevin Knox or Isaiah Livers in there? Could as well. I honestly don't know what they do. I wouldn't add Bagley. I wouldn't add Wiseman. Absolutely not. Stewart becomes marginal, but again, you got 13 games on. You don't have to make that move, but with 2+ weeks out here for Duran, something's going to break, something's going to open. If it was me, and it is me, I would add Ivy. I know he got dicked. I know he was the 11th man yesterday and didn't play until the second quarter. He still ended with 24 minutes, and he's played 29 minutes, I think, in 5 of the last 7 games. He's got upside there, and eventually something has to crack. I know Monty Williams is quitting in front of our eyes, but something is going to give there. I'd much prefer to have Ivy than Bagley or Stewart or bloody Wiseman. But who knows, man? Who knows? Hayes is also worth looking at. Jeremy Grant's out again with his concussion. We did sort of expect that, but Ayton is doubtful, meaning Jabari Walker, Duop Reith, Tumani Kamara, Matisse Thybulle. The 2 guys that I would prioritize there are going to be Thybulle and Walker. But what this does open up, and Brogdon's officially questionable. I don't know. They've been so weird with Brogdon. Who knows what happens with him and with Scoot and all that sort of stuff. But the opening in the front court is Walker. Deeper leagues, it's Reith. We just don't know how long Ayton's going to be out. So look, again, it's would you use them on Friday? And if you wouldn't, I don't know that this is a long-term scenario. 3 big men, all questionable. Dan Gafford, right, hurt his ankle, returned to that game, but he's questionable now. Isaiah Mobley might be questionable. Doesn't matter. He plays in the G League. Evan Mobley is questionable, and Mark Williams is questionable. Now, if Gafford is out, what are they going to do? Like, maybe you look at Gallinari in deeper leagues. What I would think you would do is look at Corey Kispert really closely, because I think Kispert would start, Avdi would move to the 4, and Kuzma would play the 5, and that brings up Kispert's value significantly. If Mobley misses, it'll be like George Niang or Karis LeVert or Isaac Okoro, and nothing really changes much there. And if Mark Williams is out, of course, we go after Big Dick Nick. Jalen Suggs somehow is listed questionable. Now, the Magic are an interesting team in terms of injury reporting. I've got time to go long on this stuff today because, only 2 games on. The Magic are a team that puts out their injury reports super early, which I love it. They put their starting lineups up like 2 hours before everybody else. Very transparent with that stuff. Except when somebody's injured, you get nothing from them. Markelle Fultz? All right. He's injured. Remember John Isaac's ACL recovery, which took 2.5 years? Markelle Fultz's ACL injury took 18 months to come back from, with no updates, for no reason. So while they're great at getting some info out, they're not the Hornets. The information you receive back is not very good. So Suggs is questionable. We got that nice and early. Fantastic. I don't know what it means. He didn't bloody look questionable yesterday when he was carried off the court. Don't drop Jalen Suggs. Let's hold, and we want to see what happens. And it is a great example. If you did react overly aggressively and drop him because he got hurt yesterday, you should not do that. Unless you see a man's leg, Gordon Hayward, it gets broken in half, you go, well, this guy's out. I know this, right? Don't make that move until you hear something. And at this point, you'd be probably regretting it. If he is out, it's going to be more for Cole Anthony. It's going to be more for Gary Harris, more for Anthony Black. But we don't care about most of those ones. And that is where we're at with the current situation of the injury updates. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's also the easiest and the most exciting way to play DFS. It's you against numbers. It's not battling against thousands of players, including the pros and the sharks. It's just you with player projections and you just choosing more or less. You choose between 2 to 6 of those individual player projections. You slap them into a lineup and you can win up to 25 times your money back. You can go and look at the points or the rebounds or the assists, the threes, whatever it is. You can choose Luka less than 30.5 points or LeBron more than 6 assists. Put them together, up to 6 of them. There you go. That is your Prize Picks entry. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. The promo code is LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Okay. That little subscribe thing didn't mean for that to come up, but just another little reminder. Hit the subscribe. Let's that's when you introduce a new little graphic and sometimes you screw it up. Let's look at the most added players on the waiver wire over the last 24 hours. Most of it is just from today. Aaron Neesmith up 22%, Alvarado, Mathurin, Prince, Reddish, Hachimura. Every one of those players that was added today is a drop in 12-team leagues. So if you've gone and added them to get the game in today, you can move on to get yourself a longer-term stash, an opening tomorrow, an Orlando Robinson. These are not 12-team league holds, I don't believe. What you can also do there is look at the drops and see if anything more makes sense. And this is a little bit more instructive. Reggie Jackson has been down, or he's been down, I don't know. He's been dropped in 13% of leagues. That makes sense. You move on from him in 10s and 12s. I'd probably hold Reggie in 14-team leagues, but Jamal Murray is back, so his value is gone. Dante DiVincenzo down 11%. Great stream for Tuesday. He's going to play these 20 minutes a night. That is not a 10 or a 12. Or probably not a 14-team league guy, to be honest. Grayson Allen down 10. Now, Grayson Allen was putting up pretty solid numbers. With Bradley Beal out, he'd been useful. But he's out now again as well. He's out on Friday. Probably don't need to hold him when you're looking to make moves to grab other guys in, or the fact that Beal is maybe returning next week means that we can move on. Goga Badadze down 9%. A little surprised to see him keep getting dropped, but I get it. It's not going to be a long-term scenario for him to be useful, and he's borderline at the moment anyway. Isaiah Joe down 9%. Sure, probably was over-rostered anyway. And then Jeremy Sohan down 9%. It's frustrating with that whole situation in San Antonio. And I did tell you that they weren't going to abandon the Sohan experiment to start Trey Jones. So I was right on that sentence as a whole thing. I wasn't right that they're just going to give up on Sohan, which again seems very weird as a coaching/development thing to be like, all right, we're going to put you in charge of being a point guard. You're a top 10 lottery pick from last season. But psych, now you're not. You're playing 20 minutes off the bench. It's weird, yeah? That's a little strange. But we're also going to do it so that Chetty Osman can start. Yuck. But yeah, move on from Sohan. No problem. Drop him. He was borderline anyway. He was like on the, do we have him? Yeah, there's some potential here. Move on. Get rid of him. Drop in 10, 12, and probably we drop Sohan in 14-team leagues. I think would be the right way to approach that. Let's look at the NBA's in-season tournament semifinal. The Indiana Pacers. I wish my balls were bigger. Somebody clip that out. I wish my balls were bigger. So does my missus, I'm sure. Maybe she's not a big balls guy. Girl. Don't show her that part, though. Jesus Christ. Yeah, because I was looking at it, and the Bucks were the clear favorite, the biggest favorite of the day. The Pacers were underdogs. And I was like, I think the Bucks are going to win. And I waffled slightly. No, the Bucks are going to win. But what I did say was I think whoever wins the Eastern Conference semifinal will win the overall thing. And I'm standing by that, even though it is the Pacers now. So I hedged slightly. I said the odds of the Pacers winning the title look very tasty over there on FanDuel. But unfortunately, I picked the Bucks to win the semifinal. So there you go. And they didn't. The Pacers rolled them. Good on them. We love watching the Pacers. They are fun. That is great. 128, 119. Let's talk about Tyrese Haliburton. Hasn't had a turnover in the knockout stage. 27, 7, and 15. Blocked a shot. Dame time to 3. 58% shooting. He's been ludicrous this season. He's the 4th ranked player in fantasy in categories, 6th in points leagues. A lot of people were very big on taking him in the top 4. I actually took him in at 2 in one of my fantasy drafts. It was a mock draft. But a lot of people also ridiculed it. Why would you take him so high? This is why. And I've been resisting the urge to do it all day today. But there are a couple of franchises a lot of franchises that have made significant mistakes with Tyrese Haliburton. I can't criticize them too much for the draft stuff. I didn't see this. I didn't see it as a draft prospect either. But so many teams that could have used him, Phoenix, who passed on Tyrese Haliburton and Luka Doncic, had chances to draft both of them. They would have been fantastic for him at 10. The Knicks, who did they pick? Obi Toppin. Well, at least I think I had Haliburton ahead of Toppin, so I had that one right. But he is dominating. And then the other one is, what do the Kings do with this? I know they made the playoffs. They'll say it's a win-win. It's not. It's not. Haliburton's a legitimate superstar. Sabonis is pretty good. He's very good. He's not a superstar. I don't even... What can Haliburton... He can keep getting better. I think he can keep getting better. That's what the crazy thing is about him. I don't know I'm going on about him, but bloody hell. He's been ridiculously good. He'll have some quieter nights for sure, but this shit's insane that he's doing. And he is absolutely got to be red-hot favourite for tournament MVP. I know FanDuel's not sponsoring today's show, but he's got to be. Let's dive into more of the fantasy stuff here. Ben Mathurin, 9 points in 24 minutes. We can absolutely get that garbage out of here. We do not need to hold Ben Mathurin. You can add him if shit changes later on, but whatever. I thought Aaron Nesmith played a really good game. Really good game. And people ask me this question all the time. I was actually on a podcast the other day. I don't think it's come out yet. With the guys from the Kick It Forward podcast, which those of you in Australia may know it. And they were talking about who's a guy who's like a really good real-life player, but doesn't really translate to fantasy. And I was trying to think who it was, and I was like, ja Morant and Zion Williamson's fantasy ranking and value was nowhere near commensurate with their on-court value. I said something like that. But Aaron Nesmith, I thought today he was so good. I thought he played an incredible game. 9 usage plus 16, had 6-1-1 and shot 33%. I thought he was fantastic. But it doesn't do anything for fantasy. I wouldn't bother with him in a 12-team league. He was great for today, but you go ahead and drop. But I thought he was just fantastic. Obi Toppin, 14 and 6 in 21 minutes. The 21 minutes is telling. He shot 75%, but he didn't get back up center minutes. They brought Isaiah Jackson in. No problem if while Sticks is out, you want to keep rolling with Obi Toppin, but I don't think that he's a must-roster player. He's okay if you want to, but 21 minutes will not get it done long-term. Bud Hield, we had him on the Sell High show a few weeks ago saying this shooting is not going to hold, and it obviously hasn't. 8 points on 27%, but this is Buddy Hield. He is a 40% three-point shooter. It will bounce back. What I do like is he had 11 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. While Miles Turner had 26 and 10 with 3 blocks, and he was instrumental in this game as well. Andrew Nembhard suffered what looked like not a great injury. Not that any injury is good, but it didn't look good on his knee. He had to be sort of carried to the locker room. Limped across to the bench, and they went, no, we're carrying you through. What that means, though, I think Nembhard's going to miss. Timothy John is back on the menu, boys. It is time to open up your TJs because 4 assists, 3 steals in 11 minutes for TJ. I'm not saying that he's a 12-team league ad, but I am saying in anything deeper, we are getting in on TJ because he will be the primary backup. He will play 15 to 17 minutes a night, I'm guessing, and that's going to make him an elite assist and steal stream and a great deep league player, an absolute ad in those scenarios. Bruce Brown had 10 and 3 in 28 minutes. Definitely not a great game. In a 10-team league, you don't have to roster Bruce Brown. Absolutely no need. And anything shallower, you know my theory on an 8-team league. It's the second time I've referenced 8-teamers today, actually. In an 8-team league, just stream the shit out of the back of your roster. There's like 80 blokes who are the same. Just stream through. Don't worry about who I'm going to add. Like, do I have Gafford or do I have Williams or do I have Duran or Pearl? Just stream them through. Just guess. That's why if you have only got 7 mates... No judgment. I got less. If you only got 7 mates to have a league, make your rosters bigger. You got to push them out to minimum 150, probably 180. That's how I view fantasy anyway. And so you don't have as many insane decisions where there are legitimately very good players just sitting on the waiver wire, making it just a luck-based, I was going to say regurgitation, but a cycling through effect. 2-game days make me go off track. For the Bucks, the big fella, 41 minutes for Yanni, 37 and 10, but only 2 assists. He got his 2 blocks. He shot 68. And what's going on with his free throws? 11 of 13. All right, cool. Well, Lillard started out very slow. He ended with 24, 7 and 7, 35% shooting. Not a great night, but still pretty good. And what I do love from this game from the Bucks, they lost. I don't love that part of it. Also, I'll mention something in a second about this. I've got a lot to talk about. Chris Middleton, 30 minutes. 20 points, 4 threes, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. I'm holding this desk down with my hands now because I don't want to disrupt the flow of this show. That's cool. You ever heard anyone talk about an erection as being cool? There you go. 20 and 7, 4 assists with 2 steals. We're back. What will be very interesting is, does Middleton play 30 next game, or did they defy medical science and push him to 30 minutes because it was an in-season tournament semi? We'll need to watch that, won't we? Brook Lopez had a stinking shooting night from the field and the line, but 18 points, 3 threes, and 4 blocks. Gets it done. Again, the big fella. But speaking of not getting it done, which I wasn't, but I will now, Bobby Portis. 4 and 6 in 18 minutes. This is playoff Bobby Portis because he's not good in the playoffs. He's not playable a lot of the time in the playoffs. And he's one of those guys that I think we're almost nailed in here that Punch Bob is only a injury replacement in standard formats. 4 and 6 in 18 minutes. We knew it was coming for Leaky Beasley. We knew he was going to be shit. We knew it was happening at some point. 7 points on 33%. In fact, I might have given this exact example where he can have 20 points on 8 shots and 7 on 9. That's what he did. He shot poorly. He had 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and no steals. I would still hold, but there is going to be a prolonged period of shitfulness from Beasley. It is what he does. But at least his opportunity is going to remain fairly solid. Because I'm telling you now, Marjon Beauchamp, free throw missing legend, or Andre Jackson, or white guy legend AJ Green, they're not stepping up and taking the minutes. They're just not going to do it. Maybe Connaughton could when he returns, but we're relatively safe in the floor with old Leaky Beasley there. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Jace case. Yes. Do you want to hear about emergency antibiotics? Because that's what the Jace case is. That might not sound appealing, but sometimes emergencies, well, not sometimes, literally every time, it's not about what's appealing. It's about what's necessary. And there can be plenty of supply chain issues around at the moment with medications. And sometimes, especially if you're living in somewhere remote, you need these things on hand, whether it's for sinusitis, respiratory tract infections, UTIs, STDs, skin infections. That can be a killer. Skin infections really, really can be quite bad. And having antibiotics on home, which the Jace case provides, 5 different antibiotics, it can help treat those things in conjunction with discussing with the board-certified physicians at Jace Medical. So not just using them willy-nilly, using them for the correct scenario. You go to jacemedical.com, you complete your physician encounter. It gets reviewed by that physician and your medications get dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. So go to jacemedical.com and use the offer code, Locked On, to get $20 off your order. What I was going to say, and this, I don't know, it's just an interesting observation. There was I thought a pretty bad call, a stretch of bad calls, a bad TJ McConnell travel call, I thought, and then followed up with a bad foul call against Neesmith after Middleton just dropped the shoulder right into his chest and Neesmith got called for a foul, which again, ridiculous. I think it's just ridiculous. If I ever refereed an NBA game, there would be a million punch-ons and I'd probably be the one getting punched on because I'd just be like, nah, get up. Nah, just keep going. You're both holding. That's all I'd be doing. Go, nah, bullshit, get up. Stop it. Just play. It'd probably sort itself out quickly, but I'd probably get belted a few times. But I said that out. And someone, again, not having a go at this guy, but this is an interesting perception because, yeah, the NBA, man, look at them. They're trying to rig it for the bigger market bucks. And perception is so interesting. I find perception really interesting. And I had another argument with not an argument, because I'm not getting into arguments now. Anyone wants to be a dickhead, say it loud. I'm not even bothering. A discussion with someone. And it's got, yeah, the bigger market bucks. You know, Indianapolis is a significantly bigger market than Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a tiny market. It's very small. But because they've got Giannis now, because Dame is there, the perception in our heads is that this is a big market team. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Which again shows that the NBA and NBA media partners' insistence on absolute ridiculous Dutch ruddering of New York, LA, Miami, of these teams because, well, the NBAs would love if Lakers and Knicks. Sure, they would. But you can, by focusing on good players and good teams, actually turn the perception of a small market team, which the Bucks, again, are tiny. Milwaukee is small. You can turn Milwaukee into a perceived large market team by focusing on the good players and the good teams. It is a novel concept, and it's happened, and people don't even realize that it's happened. It's just so, I fucking hate the market size talk. It's just so ridiculous when success can be had literally anywhere, so much so that we can have a perception that Milwaukee's a big city. It's not. I mean, it's fine, but it's not big. It's not as big as Indianapolis. The other discussion I had about perception, and I hope these people don't mind me using these examples. Again, it's not in Sometimes it's an aggression. These ones aren't. Talking about Jalen Suggs and his injury. And so, man, I really love these guys who really want to get out there and play, and it's a real focus for me when I'm drafting. These guys that would do anything to get out there and super tough and that sort of stuff. And I went, that's cool and all, but Suggs has played 100 games in 2 seasons. So while he looked completely busted up and he chucks his nuts on the line for every play, which we love, we respect, we really, really enjoy watching Jalen Suggs play for that reason, because he's balls out all the time. The man has missed 60 games over 2 years, his first 2 years in the NBA. So you couldn't have sat in your draft for fantasy and gone, well, I'm taking Suggs here, because my plan is to get the guys who love to play, who are going to be hard at it, and will shake off any injury and get out there, because the man has missed 1 million games. And he's going to miss again. And then he said, I go, well, look, Suggs has missed all this time. And he goes, yeah, but look at Sabonis. Last year, Sabonis broke his thumb, missed 1 game. It's true. He did have an avulsion fracture on his non-shooting thumb, and he did play through it. That's true. I always find it uncomfortable to be like, well, this guy's actually hard, and this guy's soft, and bitches and pisses and moans, and he's weak as piss, and all that sort of stuff. But you couldn't have made that decision about Sabonis in the draft last season. Heading into the season that Sabonis had missed 20 games the year prior, including sitting out 11 of the final 15 games with a fake injury while the Kings tanked. So you couldn't have sat there before that season and went, well, I'm taking Sabonis round 2 because I know he's just going to play through everything. He's never going to let the team sit him down. He's going to get out there at all costs. Because it wasn't true. He missed 30 games over 2 years. Those 2 years prior. Last year, he missed 3 games. So now the narrative is Sabonis, the hardest man in the world. And that is all perception. And part of what I do, and part of this, again, I'm sorry if this show is just not a good show. Maybe it's not. Because I'm going on and talking about these random things, again, without even having a goal, people. Because so much of what I can do, I can sit here and read box scores, and I do. And it can be boring and dry. I can sit here and tell dick jokes. If that's boring and dry, that's a problem you might need to speak to your partner about. What I also can do is talk about perception and the way that we consume things and the way we can turn that to our advantage. Because you couldn't have sat there in the draft and said, well, I'm taking Jalen Suggs, he's an Iron Man, plays for everything. You couldn't have said that about Sabonis last season, but now the narrative is, look at this. Toughest bastards in the world, they're going to play through everything. They're never going to soft out and pussy themselves out of things. That's all perception. And when you look at the actual information about it, you get an advantage that way. Because that shit's just not true. And I do think there is a level of importance there, and I am going to shut up right now. All right, now let's do the second game of the day. Not very competitive, was it? The Lakers absolutely smashed the Pelicans. 133, big scoring game, to 89. That's it. That's embarrassing for the Pelicans. I thought they were going to win. Screwed that up. They didn't just lose. They got demolished. Just embarrassing. So I don't really know what we take out of this. Like Valanciunas, 9 points, 3 blocks. Good that he got the blocks. Cool. This game was over, in the third quarter. It was 41-17 in the third quarter. Herb Jones, 10 points with 2 steals, so he's still got it done. Trey Murphy only played 22 minutes and was a minus 25, not the worst on the team, but had 14 points and 39%. But he shot up. That's important. McCollum, 9 points only. Rough shooting, 29%. Didn't get the blocks, but still got some steals. My opinion on him is pretty well clear. Ingram was bad. 9 points on 31%. 1 of 2 from the line. The 7 assists are solid. Zion, what's going on with this boy? The last 2 games have been really, really bad. He only took 8 shots, 22 usage, minus 33. That's terrible. 2 rebounds, 3 assists, no defensive stats. 1 of 6 from the line. LeBron just cooked him. He was dreadful. And he had really been starting to turn the corner. And the last 2 games, just invisible. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on with this team. I don't know what's going on with him and his role. Everything's weird. Do I take anything out that Dyson Daniels played 17 minutes? No. Jordan Hawkins played the entire fourth quarter. Cool. This is just blowout stuff. If you did have Daniels or Marshall or Hawkins or Alvarado, you move on from all of those guys in 10 and 12 and probably 14 teams. And you keep Trey and you keep Herb and everyone else in 12s. For the Lakers, LeBron played 23 minutes. And he had 30 and 5, 8 assists, 4 threes, 75%. This man's ridiculous. Debate your asses off in the chat or in the comments below if you want, but he's I know it's is he the GOAT now because he won an in-season semifinal? No, it's just everything that's been happening continually for years. This man's 39 in 2 weeks. His son is playing college. It's crazy. Anthony Davis had 16 and 15 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. And Austin Reeves only the 23 minutes, but still got it done, man. After a really slow start, and the benching, Reeves is playing very well. 17, 5, and 7. Prince had 15 points with 5 threes. That means he'll have 0 points in the next game almost definitely, while Russell had 14 and Reddish 9 and 5. So if you did stream in Prince, if you did stream in Reddish, if you streamed in Vanderbilt, Hachimura, Hayes, Christie, you move on from all of those guys in 10 and 12 and 14 team leagues. The only 12 team league guys here are James, Davis, Reeves, and Russell. Obviously, Christian Wood he played 8 minutes, garbage time. He is out of the rotation, yet he is still rostered in 11% of 12-team leagues. That needs to change ASAP. Move on from all of these guys. Now we talk about the final. Lakers, Pacers. I don't know. I've written off I've said good things about the Pacers for both games, and they've won them both, even though I picked against them. And now they play the Lakers. What do? Do I take them? I might as well. I did say at the semifinal, take whoever wins the Eastern Conference. So there you go. Let's go the Pacers over the Lakers. They'll be massive underdogs, I'm guessing, because of the venue, because it's LeBron and the Lakers. And then it's going to be either LeBron or Haliburton that wins MVP. Don't worry about betting on anybody else. It's going to be one of those two for in-season tournament MVP. But very interesting for Saturday. Again, a reminder, if you have not heard, that will not count in fantasy. Do not hold your Lakers. Do not hold your Pacers for Saturday. It does not count. So all those fringes, Neesmith, Nembhard, McConnell. Well, then McConnell, for deep performance, we look at Isaiah Jackson, Reddish, Prince, Wood, Vando, Rui. Move on from all of them in 12s. You don't need to hold these men. And that is almost the end of the NBA's in-season tournament. It is from a fantasy perspective. What did you think overall? Now that the NBA's checks have cleared and I've got my payment from telling you how good the in-season tournament was, it was garbage. Get rid of it. What a disgrace. Just ruined the value of basketball, the sanctity of the game. It screwed up fantasy. I can't wait for them to get rid of it. What a disgusting format. And just the NBA sucks. I know I have to explain that sarcasm, but dude, there are people who legitimately believe the NBA is passing around money for people to say they like the in-season tournament. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. I tell you what I didn't like. I liked the courts. I hated that court. The color scheme was wrong. I don't care about the bright colors. The blue and red was ridiculous. It looks stupid. I thought that for sure they were going to go black with gold. The trophy's like a black and gold. I thought it would look sick. Red and blue, and I'm a big red and blue guy. I like red and blue as colors. That color combo on the court looks stupid, I thought. Ridiculous. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's done. 13 games tomorrow. In-season tournament final on Saturday. Week 8 starts on Monday. We have got a couple of other things that we do need to get to here because, of course, that's where we're at in the show. Let's do a stream of the day recap. Very hard with only 2 games on to try and hit on these ones, but we did our best. Our best doesn't always work, but that's fine. 10-team stream, we went with Leaky Beasley, 7-3-1. Not too good. 12-team stream was Neesmith, 6-1-1 with a block. Whatever. It was okay. 14-team was Reddish, 9-5-2. That's looking a little bit better. And the 16-team, it's like the Vince McMahon meme. And we're falling back in our chair, hey, with the red eyes. Torian Prince, 15-3-1 with 1 steal and no blocks. Cool. Doesn't mean anything as we move forward. You just wanted some games in. And hopefully you got some games in and some value. Neesmith was the Yahoo point stream. He had 11.7, and he was the ESPN point stream, and he had 12. Didn't work out very well. We just wanted something to get in. That it was the aim of the name of the game with the way that this week panned out, and that's what we did. So let's look now at the Monstrous line of the night. The best performer of the day. You know who it's going to be. It's one of 2 different players. Which one do you think it's going to be? It's Tyrese Haliburton. 27 points, 7 rebounds, 15 assists, elite shooting, got some steals as well. He's been ridiculous. He continues to be ridiculous. He continues to be a top 5 actual real-life player and top 5 fantasy player as well. Ludicrous stuff from him. The waiver wire line of the night, the best performer, under 50% rostered. Not real great options, although when we get to the young gun, it's even worse. The waiver wire line of the night was the artist formerly known as Torian Prince. 15 points with 5 threes. 3 rebounds and 1 assist. Sick, great, love it, awesome. Doesn't mean anything as we move forward. The young gun of the night, the best performer for a player in their first or second year. And I'll tell you now, this means absolutely nothing because this man got hurt during the game. Hope he's okay. Andrew Nembhard, 8 points, 1 steal, 1 block. Probably going to miss some time here. We're only looking at him in the very, 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 very deep leagues. And even then, I'm not even sure how closely we're looking at him. And the dud of the night was hard. I went back and forth, and then I was like, I'm wasting time trying to decide something in a war that doesn't actually matter for anything. And I did end up giving it to the biggest bird, Zion Williamson. He had 13 points, which looks good on the surface with good field goals, but 2 rebounds, no defensive stats, no threes, and then 1 of 6 from the line. Now, with Zion, you are punting free throws. I get that. I could have chucked Brandon Ingram. He was my other guy to decide here. Was he going to be the dud of the night? But his 7 assists were really valuable too. He shot badly from the field and from the line, but I'm just going to give it to Zion. I thought it was just a terrible performance. So he gets our dud of the night. Now, we look at the top 6 players from the action from the in-season tournament semi-final games. Top 6 today was Haliburton at number 1, followed by LeBron at number 2, Giannis at 3. It was Anthony Davis coming in at number 4, Turner at 5, and Damian Lillard at number 6. Your top 6 players, Ross in under 50% of leagues. Torian Prince at 1, don't care for anything above 16 teamers or below. Jose Alvarado, 16 teams. Isaiah Jackson at number 3, like maybe 14 team while Jalen Smith is out, but maybe not. TJ McConnell, interested in 14s. Cam Reddish, probably a 14-team league guy, and Andrew Nembhard, as I said, not a lot for me to get excited about with him given the injury. And then the top 6 players in Yahoo points leagues: Haliburton, Giannis, Miles Turner, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Dame time has been stolen from you, Lillard. And that's it. We're done. I hit the animation at the wrong time. I'm going to hit it again because I'm still getting used to how this thing works. So let's hit it again. Hit subscribe. Click. Hit the thumbs up. Tell people about it. Follow, notification bell, all of that stuff. It's a great way of helping the show. We're on Operation 70K, so go jump over and do that, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.